Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I have the pleasure of talking with Victoria Ballantine. She is a home inspector and owner of Allegiant Inspections. Thank you for joining us today, Victoria.
Thank you for having me, Katie.
Yeah. So I've got some great questions, and hopefully our listeners will pick up on a few things today and be able to reach out with to you with any additional questions. But I wanted to start right out the gate with, in your opinion, what's the most important reason to have a home inspection?
I There's so many reasons. I don't know if I could put one at the top, but
Top
probably I would
three.
have to put the top one as you can save money by finding small things before they are crisis emergencies. And
So if something big needs to be fixed or remediated or it's a
exactly, but it's
small.
not even that. You go to the doctor for your annual checkup to catch things before you are really, really sick. And the same happens with your home. There's so many small things that, if left unattended, can balloon into expensive emergencies. And that just doesn't need to happen.
No. I assume too, health is a big one. I know a lot of people, through the last number of years have focused a lot more on their health. We're at home a lot more, working from home, and having a healthy home is also important. Do you typically find a lot of issues in that regard that could impact health?
One of the things that I do not do is test for mold, but I do visually look for evidence of what I perceive may be mold. People don't go in their attics, they don't go in their crawl spaces, and I do. And that is where you find evidence pretty quickly if there's things going wrong. And
Brave woman.
I'd also like to point out that that basement smell, everybody knows what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
should not exist. It means there is water somewhere, there's moisture somewhere, and you should find out where that is.
Now, how would someone choose who to hire as their home inspector?
I guess it would depend on the situation. If you're buying or selling a home, you obviously would have a realtor, and they are the ones that usually recommend home inspectors. I believe by law they're supposed to recommend three, and you choose which one you would like. If you don't have that in your pocket, then you can go online and search Google. But my recommendation is that you only use people that are members of associations.
Ah,
There's
yes.
two in BC, and the one that I belong to is the Home Inspectors Association of BC. They have much higher standards that are required of their inspectors, both for reporting and inspecting, and higher education is required. So there's just a no-brainer there to choose somebody that knows what they're doing.
Licensed home inspector. If you have found a name or been given a name, you can search the registry for the license to be in place, just like you could for a broker.
Absolutely. And BC and Alberta are the only provinces in the entire country that require licensing.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
surprising.
Yeah. So anywhere else in the country, a lot of people kind of have a not so great image of what a home inspector is, because literally anybody can call themselves a home inspector.
Wow, that's terrifying. So, who should have a home inspection? Like, who do you recommend gets a home inspection?
If you're buying a house, if you're selling a house, if you are living in a house or a condo, anything.
Yeah.
Like I was referring to before, maintenance inspections can really give you a great idea of what the future holds for your home, how to budget, because I may be able to tell you, this is a furnace that is on its last legs. You should be budgeting for replacement, or roof or anything like that. If you are building a new home, um, or doing extensive renovations, I recommend that you have a home inspector come in, because we're quite inexpensive. Come in and do an inspection before you give your final payment to your contractor. That way, anything that I find you can pass on. If you live in a house that is under 10 years old, or under 5, or under 2, you are covered by the 2510 warranty. I don't know if your people know what that is, but it was put into effect in 1999 by BC government because of the leaky condo crisis.
Yes.
And it is required of all builders to have this warranty in place. And it covers uh, all new builds. 2 years is materials and labor. So any defects or failures in plumbing or heating or electrical or anything like that, appliances, finishes, that's covered. And I should say 2 years, but it's actually 2 years less a day. And 5 year, the 5 is for building envelope. So any water ingress from anything that is attached to the outside, windows, doors. And 10 is for major structural things. So if your footings and your foundations start to sink, or if part of your framing starts to collapse, then you're covered. You should get things inspected before these warranties expire, because once they do expire, you cannot make
Then you're
a
on your
claim.
own. You're on the
Yes.
hook for it. So
And finally, I just want to say that I've been doing a lot of this lately, which is occupancy walkthroughs for people that are taking possession of places.
yes, so you can list any deficiencies. Is that correct?
Yes. Most
Okay.
people walk through and, with their green tape, they'll put a little piece here on this scuff on the wall and here on this chip on the cabinet, but they don't have any idea how this heating system's supposed to be set up or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot with clients. And the beauty of that is it's covered by your warranty. So you can just pass on my report to the developer and have them fix your items.
Now, are realtors still doing like pre-listing home inspections so that a report could be made available as a part of a sale? I know we're not in as busy a market as we have been in other certain periods of time where there was no time or subject available to do a home inspection. We seem to have that more now. So are you seeing that come back a bit?
That's been quite consistent for me, even through the crazy real estate market that we've been having. It's not just a matter of what you just mentioned, but also it helps realtors list the price properly,
Yeah.
just based on, they know that there's a new roof that needs to go on the place, so they'll price it accordingly.
That's good. Now, what are you looking for in an inspection? I mean, you've mentioned a number of different things like a basement smell, furnace, roof, but like, what are you looking for? Are you looking to
I
find, sorry, but like items that are of issue or just a general condition of everything within the home?
So if I find absolutely nothing wrong with your heating system, I just leave that out. I only mention things that are of concern, or safety items, or items that could be repaired. In my case, I'm very detail oriented. So my reports tend to be longer, and that doesn't mean that there's more issues with the house. It just means I think that my customers should know even this tiny little things just because they're paying me. So here it is.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know we touched on licensing, but how is a home inspector with licensing different from someone with, say, just a construction background? Because that person with just a construction background may say to an individual, well, I've built homes. I know what I'm looking for.
I'm glad you asked that, because I have a construction background and I thought that it was going to be a lot easier doing all of the courses for home inspection because of this. In some aspects, it was, but however, when you are building, you tend to sub out things. So I didn't have very much knowledge about plumbing or electrical. I knew some.
Yeah.
With home inspections, you literally have to know about everything that has to do with the home. So yeah, I had
Every building code, every, like I've seen issues about window height or the height, little things
yes.
like the taps and sinks that
Yeah.
that don't turn all the way and things like that.
Or do turn completely around. I am not required to be completely up to date on building codes. That would be impossible. I don't know if you've ever seen the building code, but it's literally like this thick
Yeah.
and constantly being changed.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
in fact, I'm not even supposed to use the word code in my report because if I do say something is not to code, it gives the legal impression that I know the code backwards and forwards.
Yep. Yep.
So I will use terms to get around that legally, like not up to standards.
Yeah, because it's that we come across that quite often where it's like, this is not legal advice, this is not accounting advice. Seek the advice of your professional in that
And
regard.
I'm required to write my reports as if they were a legal document. Like I have to assume that eventually one is going to end up in court and I have to be able to
Yeah.
back what I have written down. So
Yeah.
even things like my association requires that when I am writing something down, like there's a crack in the foundation, you're going to want to monitor that crack. I can't just leave it at that. I need to be more specific because what does monitor a crack mean to the layperson, right? Do they pull
Yeah.
out their lawn chair and sit there and watch it? Like, what do they do? So I have to specifically say, once you take possession, you need to keep an eye on this for movement, especially in the rainy season for, few
Yeah.
months.
Now, are there any trends that you're seeing today for buyers to look out for? Like you would deal with a variety of ages of properties, stratas, detached homes, but is there any trend that we're seeing as technology advances, building materials change?
I wouldn't say that there's too many trends that I see in that regard, but the one most troublesome thing that I do see is the reason why I'm no longer a builder is bad quality,
Yes.
corners cut. So new builds and the quality of new builds deteriorating is a worrisome trend for me.
Yeah.
I
So
find more issues with a brand new house than I do with the 1970s condo.
yeah, so that goes back to you suggesting that on a walkthrough of a new property, even though you've got occupancy, strata or detached, to still have someone come through for their own benefit as another set of eyes to inspect the property.
Yes, and if you talk to builders even, I had a client that I'd done a few inspections for, and they said, "Oh, okay, well, we're buying this new build. You don't need to do an inspection." And I was just like, "Well, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to get more work out of you, but you should really consider these facts." And they went and asked their builder friend, "Do you think we should get an inspection?" And he was just like, "Absolutely."
Yeah. And as you mentioned, I mean, there is a cost and a fee, but it is small, marginal to what you could be walking into and issues and costs related that way.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you then for strata properties that have depreciation reports, can a buyer rely on those to understand sort of what's gone on or what might be coming down the pipeline?
Yes and no. So I love doing strata stuff that have depreciation reports, which are required by law every 3 years, unless the strata votes 75% in favor of not doing it. I don't see them done as often as they're supposed to be done.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is to get all of the engineering reports, get all of these depreciation reports, get the minutes from the strata council before I even set foot on site. That way I can see what the depreciation reports have said needs to be done.
Hmm.
And I can go on site and see if they have been done. It's a really easy way to see how on top of um, maintenance and things like that the strata is.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, as a buyer, you'd want to see an active strata dealing with the things that need to be done and preventatively. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that always goes in my report. It's really important that you read all of the documents from the strata. And it's also really important that you vote yes on anything that has to do with the exterior of the building and rain screen
Yeah.
items. The value of your home in that case is in that. It is not in your actual suite.
Yeah, I've seen a number of buildings in my career where they voted down, rain screening only to see costs balloon afterwards, and ultimately, it's just delaying the process. So yes, I agree. Vote yes. Okay, so a fun question. You are the only female home inspector in the Lower Mainland. How is that possible? And what's that like for you?
Um, it makes me stand out in a sea of home inspectors. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
them in the Lower
Yeah.
Mainland. I'm not really sure. I get asked this all the time,
Yeah.
how I became the only one. Didn't realize I was the only one until every single time I set foot on an inspection, a realtor would say, I've never seen a female home inspector before. I think it might be that there's a lot of women going into trades right now,
Mm.
but this particular one is the lowest income. You get paid a lot more money to be a plumber or an electrician than you do to be a home inspector. So I think women are just smart.
So why be a home inspector then? Like what's your passion around in working in this profession?
I, excuse me, love helping people. I love educating people on how things work in their home. I didn't realize because I was constantly surrounded by trades, both growing up and running my business. I just didn't realize how unhandy people actually are. And people literally have no idea. And they're, maybe they're first time home buyers and they don't know the first thing. And I can set them up for success and help them understand, why they need to do things. And the, they're just so grateful and so happy to have worked with me that it just makes me really happy.
That's
And
awesome.
I constantly am fielding questions too. I'd just like to put that out there. If I can talk to you on the phone from my couch and answer questions that you might have about something weird going on, sometimes you just need to ask the right questions in order to figure things out. And I'm happy to do that for free. Word of mouth is my best advertising. I
Yeah. That's what I always say. I'm like, phone and ask the questions. But, it might mean we work together or not, but without the call, we don't know. So how does someone reach you? What's the best way to reach you, Victoria?
You can call me, you can text me, you can hit me up with a Zoom link. You can reach me through my website. You can reach me through email. You can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
So for the realtors who may or may not be listening right now, they like to be able to get in contact with people right away. Is the best then say a text or a call to reach you for
Texting is
any?
always my quickest response to anything.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, anything else that you'd like our watchers, viewers, listeners to know about home inspections or the only female home inspector in the Lower Mainland?
Um,
Get an inspection?
get an inspection. You will save so much money and stress and headaches just knowing.
Yeah. Well, as everyone knows, we now have a rescission period, which at least gives you those 3 days. So write in access to the property so that one can be done. I always recommend a subject to financing as well. But if you can't wiggle one in there, make sure you have access to the property because now you have those 3 days under that rescission period to be able to have a home inspection. And again, the price point for value is gold. So I recommend it for all of my clients, and I'm sure Victoria does as well. But thank
I
you
do.
again. Thank you
Thank you
again.
so much.
Yeah, it's nice to connect with other colleagues in connecting professions. And if anyone does have any questions, as Victoria's mentioned, we'll put her contact information in the notes. Please reach out to her, and if you need her immediately, send her a text or give her a call.
You've
Thanks.
got it.